What does success look like for you in regards to the Force album?
It really impacted the culture in a major way with sales, with airplay, with streams, people really feeling it and embracing it and loving it.
I really hope that it does all of those things. He also says, I wanted to do successful streaming and impact-wise, and
some of it is sales, streams, but then some of it is views, and then some of it is engagement and feedback. You know, it's a combination of all those things, Joe.
Hold up. And sometimes we are afraid to see our goats not be goatish.
True.
It's that too.
that explains everything that I'm trying to say. Everything has sounded good. I think that this album is going to have great music. The sales part, and if other people agree with me, is something different. But I do think that this album is going to be a good album. This Friday, LL Cool J album is coming out, and I was speaking about it in a lot of my videos. So that's another album, I'm not gonna lie, I'm anticipating too, because I just want to see if it's good. And I also want to see if other people are listening to it as well. Like, if Big Sean, an artist that the youth know about, an artist that is more current than LL Cool J, didn't sell over 50K or didn't even sell over 25K, how is LL Cool J gonna sell this big number? But regardless of if it sells a lot, I think that I'm gonna like the LL Cool J album. I just want them to look successful. I don't want them to just be putting out music and not look successful, especially for a legend like LL Cool J. That's my only issue with LL Cool J putting out another album. I listened to LL Cool J album, and it's not a bad album. It's just a calm, cool album from a legend. Raps aren't terrible from LL Cool J, and the beats are really good to me. Throughout this album, he has really good storytelling, and I admire that as a fan of hip-hop. I like when they tell stories, and LL Cool J did a really good job of doing that on this album. All I'm gonna say is, wasn't I right? I don't think LL Cool J should have put out an album. I seen the album sales for LL Cool J album, and all I'm gonna say is, wasn't I right? Because he only sold 16,000. That is trash. And I heard Jermaine Dupri say back in the days when they were selling albums, if you sold 20,000 albums, you would not even be looked at. You would get laughed at.
The era that I came in the music industry, if you sold 28,000 copies, you didn't get no other chance to even walk in the building again.
You're fired.
Like, niggas was not talking to you if you sold 28,000 records.
I just wonder, is there any legend from back then that could come back now and put an album out and it would sell well? Is this a failure for LL Cool J? When you see the people that outsold LL Cool J, a legend, you're going to be like, that doesn't look right. That looks bad. I'll end this conversation with, I don't think LL Cool J should have put out an album. After months of predicting that this would happen and that it wouldn't sell a big number, I was right. And once I posted a clip, speaking of how I was right, people in the comments, they said, oh, LL Cool J wasn't doing it for numbers. Then why was he saying this whole promo run that he wanted it to be successful streaming-wise? He wanted it to be successful numbers-wise. And now it didn't happen. And once a person says it, it's like, you don't love hip-hop. It's, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, he's not doing it for numbers. Then what the fuck was he doing it for? And if he wasn't doing it for numbers, why did he say he...
What does success look like for you in regards to the Force album?
It really impacted the culture in a major way with sales, with airplay, with streams, people really feeling it and embracing it and loving it.
Ask you what your concept of impact means versus 20, 30 years ago.
Well, you know, that's a good question, right? I mean, some of it is sales. I think some of it is streams, but then some of it is views, and then some of it is engagement and feedback. You know, it's a combination of all those things. And if I feel like the audience is excited, then I've done my job. You know what I'm saying? And if I feel like people are going, yo, that's the shit, I've done my job.
I believe that LL Cool J is a legend just like everybody else does. But he said that this album being successful would mean that it would have impact. And that impact would come from a lot of things, like sales, like it's streaming well, like views, and a whole bunch of other things. But out of his own mouth, he said that this album being successful would come from streams, views, and impact and engagement and a whole bunch of other things. Now we get the sales, we get the views, we see what the album has done, and it was not that successful by his own metrics. Which then leads me to ask, would this be considered a flop to him? Isn't flop meaning that an album is not successful? And by his bar of views, sales, streaming, engagement, it wasn't successful.